was a black man who burned you, that's important. That story is important, that black man who burned you, but it was a Spanish police cop that came.
Hey, how you doing? What matters to you? That's the number one question. Well, what we're going through right now in this state, America, we actually need some change. And to get it, it won't be easy. Simple as that. I mean, if we rewind back when I was a kid, I can say my mom, she was doing good. She lived life well, had her own, held it down. She was actually my father too. Got to a point, she raised me by myself. She actually worked a lot and she made ends meet. We moved, came to Florida, and it all starts from there. I just was born in New York, ended in Florida. A couple of years later, down the line, I'm actually an athlete, played football. It was fun, best experience of my life. Played baseball, ran track, to the point where I thought I was gonna go to college. Had college offers to a couple of colleges. My senior year, I had it. I was planning on going till I found out I could be a dad, and that changed it all. That was something I never experienced, and I could say at 18, you want to experience everything, but that's something you didn't expect. I ended up being a father, and that was a step that I had to take, a big step. It was more, I had to take care of my daughter, let the mom go off to college and let her get herself her education, and I actually did that. 3 years down, my daughter's with me. Best experience of my life, another one. I have 4 kids now, 30 years old, and with this epidemic going on with coronavirus, that's just topped it for 2020. Rewind it before that, it's been something that's worse than corona, in my view, and it's racism with main blacks and whites, which I totally disagree. That's something you shouldn't be taught, and if you already was taught, just end it. It was years ago, over 150 years ago. If you really want to be about that life, figure out a time capsule and go back then and deal with it then. But right now we're looking for a change, and change is possible, but it is hard. I didn't go to college. I ended up just going to trade school, get my HVAC. I'm a maintenance tech now. With racism, my first time dealing with it was kind of different. I really didn't have an experience with anything in school with white people or anything like that. I actually had a lot of friends that were white, but my first experience was probably when I was working at a restaurant. He's actually the same color as me. People don't know I'm dark skinned, but people don't know I'm Puerto Rican, half. So thank God I know Spanish, and that's what helped me out in this story. I was actually cooking, and I wasn't cooking, I was walking through the cooking line. I was a dishwasher, and I got burnt by the cook. He apologized. I didn't pay no mind. He actually told, the boss came by, and he told me, next time you gotta yell. I'm coming through when it's busy, because people don't hear you, there's a lot of noise. Took the blame, had big burn mark on my arm. A couple weeks later, I'm walking, doing the same thing. I wasn't gonna walk through the line yet. I was actually putting my dishes up. I heard somebody in Spanish say, "I bet I'll burn them again." I really didn't pay no mind to it because I wasn't thinking about it at the time. What got my attention is when the manager, he's Spanish too. said, "I bet you won't burn them again. Go ahead." So it kind of pissed me off because they didn't know I was Spanish at the time. So that kind of sucked on their end because I understood what they were going to do. But I didn't actually step away from it or walked away from it. I actually pushed myself to, you know what, I'm going to get burned. I might as well do it with a bang or some type of change. And I walked by, he burnt me again, and everything went to the roof. We ended up fighting. I ended up in handcuffs, and the cop was Spanish, was talking to the two guys, hearing their side of the story, and they're having a Spanish conversation. Yeah, he's terrible. He's been threatening to fight. They're just seasoning me up to be the evil man, and I waited my turn. Hopefully he listens to me. I'm already scared because this is a cop. But as he comes up to me, I just tell him, I'm like, "So, you're Spanish, right?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I'm Spanish too." And from that point on, I just started explaining myself, what happened in Spanish. I could see across from me the other two guys went from like, "Ha, you're going to jail," to, "Oh my God, this guy was Spanish the whole time. He knew everything." So I told him I told him my side of the story, basically everything that I told you, and the cop was shocked. And he actually had my back. He took the handcuffs off me, told me, "You can go back to work," and told them that's messed up. Basically, like, if I want to, I can pursue charges or anything. At that point, I was just more disrespected. I just couldn't believe it happened to me with that type of racism with my own kind. And I quit. I just quit right there. Ended up struggling, trying to find a job. Found a job being a maintenance tech. Best opportunity ever. Learned so much. And I don't regret it. I mean, I was cooking all my life till I became a maintenance tech. Finally, my first experience with the racism with a cop, I don't want to say it's racism because at the end, it's more they were doing their job, but I actually called the cops and when I needed help. There was a few guys, more than one, so yes, I needed help. I basically called the cops and told them, can they come out there? These guys had weapons and everything. I only had a knife at the time. And the four guys, they left and the cops pulled up. I didn't have no weapons on me, nothing. And as soon as I get out, the cop get out, he pulls his gun out and aims it at me and tells me, "Get down." And I kind of laughed. I'm like, "I was the one that called you." And he was like, "I don't care, get down." And I see I got a call, somebody's with a weapon, and I see you. I saw you throw a weapon. And I told him, I was the guy. I called you guys to let you know I needed help, and you actually came fast. You did your job, but you're not actually doing your job. They pinned me down, ended up on my stomach, knee on my neck. Thankfully, I could breathe. R.I.P. George. But that was my first experience with the cop. It took a lot of talking and explaining for them to actually realize they kind of messed up and put the wrong guy in handcuffs. But after that, I just didn't actually. 911 is the last number I call, and it's sad when they're supposed to be the people you need help. When you call when you need help, that's the last number I call. I'm at the point now, I probably got to be dead before I call 911, because who knows, anything can happen, especially with a cop. And knowing that that cop is a white cop who doesn't care is gonna be painful and struggling. throughout the years, I mean, I feel united. We all got united with 9/11, totally out the subject. But that was one thing that got us united. It only lasted a couple of years, I can say. Because throughout the years, it was more, I started seeing growing up, black people doing things in the news, and 90%, they don't make it to the jail. They're either in the hospital or in the morgue. And 100% of the white man that does the same crime makes it to the jail. And that's something I didn't care as a kid. I noticed it. I started to care at the point when I realized I have 4 kids of my own, and 3 of them are boys, and they're black. So that's something you have to teach your kids, racism. And I'm the type of person, I don't even bring it up to my kids. My daughter was the one that came up to me and was like, "Daddy, what's racism?" And the reason why she brought it up, she heard it in the news because of the George incident and history of other black people who passed away doing non-crimes, going to the store, simple ticket stop, getting stopped by the cops, walking, running. Like, that's the type of thing I don't want to wake up and find out my kids been through. And that's something we need to change. Throughout the years, that's another thing. In the 90s, when you nerded through the movies, it was more black people died first, white people, why they always falling? Why they always fall down? Why the white girl falls down first? Producers noticed that. People started talking about it. Oh, this is the same thing. It's always the same storyline. It's always the same storyline. Producers actually seen that, and what they did change. Why can't America do that? It got to the point, even the news, every news will promote to the max when a black man dies from a cop. But it will only take 2 days, 1 day, for a white man who died from a cop to you hear it for a whole week. So that clearly tells you that the news or whoever's running it sees the problem, but they're scared to actually say something about it. Like, well, here, y'all see this person dying, this person dying, this person did the same crime, but he made it to the jail. But anyways, this person just died again. And America still hasn't changed. Now it's getting to violence. It's going to the point that people are raiding and running into people's stores and stuff. Sad, but still no change. The only thing I feel that can change, if you give it an extra 150 years and basically don't bring it up at all. Don't teach it. If you was brought up with it, sad to say, you just have to fly past. When God calls you, you'll just be off, and hopefully you didn't teach nobody else. But it's taught, and I'm not trying to teach my kids racism, and nobody shouldn't. That my son has a white friend. They're 4 or 5 years old. They're the bestest friends in the world, and they're 2 different shade tones. And they love each other. It's something you teach. You just, don't nobody wake up and say, you know what, I hate white people. You know what, I hate black people. It started off 150 years later, not even 100, 70 years later, there's still people that was there from that 150 years ago that's still teaching the grandkids. So yeah, now there are kids. There's some kids now that are racism. How did they learn? How are they racist? Basically because of the fact their mom or grandparents or somebody taught them that. The only way it can stop, I feel, if basically you just forget about it. Don't even bring it up. That should be a crime. If you're racist, that should be a crime. And I mean, nobody haven't tried that. It's more they murder somebody or they're racist, now they go to jail. But can you stop it to the point at you're racist, go to jail? I think there can be a change. It's gonna take years. Black people, a lot of praying, and white people, a lot of trust. And that's about it. Thank you.
Yeah, that was
Very good.
That was good.
It was very good. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, he's gonna